Well, howdy, howdy, y'all. Welcome on into the campfire. Today I want to cover up my top 5 tips in Cataclismo. These are just a handful of tricks I wish I knew during the start of the campaign run. Hope you all enjoyed today's video, so let's get straight to the ride. First tip that I have is wall strength, or the basic setup for wall defense. Unlike other survival games, I have found that they have a simple wall or a simple structure that you can put in place in a section. Those set structures have a set amount of hit points for that location. In this game, you actually have to block for block build up your entire wall, and depending on how high or how you reinforce it, strengthens or amplifies your wall's overall strength. We all know if you actually utilize wood walls that it's actually doesn't really do anything. You can stack them as high as you want and you're still going to get the same amount of health per deal. So it doesn't matter how much you go up, there's no way to reinforce it, and you can't actually add any additional defenses. Then you only use wood structures to actually help us with bridges and to connect against our actual stone walls. And when it actually comes to stone walls, this is going to be tricky. You can go as fancy as you want with different types of tools that you can unlock throughout the campaign, or in survival mode you already have them already unlocked. And you can get as fancy as you want in some of the builds. But for a basic aspect, we're going to be looking at the 3 major builds that you're going to be running into. So first off, you're going to have your 1 square, you're going to have your 2 square, and you're going to have your 3 square. So as we can see that the 1 square has 5 hit points, 6.7 hit points as you go up and everything else there. And we all know if you actually increase it, you'll start getting an amplifier. So we can start getting these up. About 4 per stack, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That's when you get that first layer. So now that jumps up to 80, 96, and 112. So the best thing to actually think about is the bottom layer. The bottom layer is going to be your main key defense. That's where you're going to want your strongest portion. Now when you go up against other creatures that do explosives, yes, you're going to want at least a little bit higher strength up in the walls, but typically everything you're going to be running into is ground level. So they're going to be smashing that bottom as much as possible. So we don't want to actually build a lot with the small, medium blocks because they have the weakest amount of health. We do want to try to leverage the bottom bricks, the stone 3-point bricks, as much as possible. So let's get rid of those, and then let's do like a quick basic build. So we also know that if you put this like in the line, we'll just put like 3 in a line, and then we even stagger it. You can even try staggering and everything else. And then you can be like, well, I'm going to want this there, and then stagger it up all the way around. We can see that it actually, whoops, put one in the back, that it actually puts, you set up a nice little solid wall. However, what you're going to run into is when we go in pause mode, you'll see if, let's just say they break down this wall that's 112 points. It's actually, see all these little red sections? So as soon as I unpause, those are all going to disappear. So, yes. So they all disappeared. So when they just smashed that one down, they actually blew this entire wall down. So let's just say that we actually had a defense up. So I'm going to bring in a quick defense wall so we can see what that looks like. So this is one of the preset walls that you can actually get within the blueprints, and we'll cover that because it's part of one of my other tips. That, let's just say this is a wall that's around here. It actually comes up, it has the 2 point there, 480 hit points there, has that, another 480 there. But let's just see what happens, put it on the pause, if we actually end up, we'll see one of them breaks. As you can see, we have an entire section right here that's ready to fall. So if you had someone up top here that, let's just say, was shooting down and that one breaks, well, that also person falls down, he goes stuns, and he's no longer in combat. He's going to get beat up and most likely die. So you just lost that soldier. So for a quick over a canopy that this is just going to be sitting on top of or something that could be kind of useful, but other than that, this is not really the best structure for it. For this, I'm going to bring in one of my major giant wall structures. We'll cover this in a little bit. As you can see, we have a good solid structure here, and we have the 400, then we have 560, 560, 560, another 400. This is because it's more designed to actually hold up with higher deals. So let's just say one of these 460s goes away. As we can see, the whole other layer stays in put. So let's go ahead and put that back real quick. Put that there. And we're going to put this back here. And then there we go. Let's just say this middle one goes away. Now, if the middle one goes away, we do have a little bit more of a structure loss. However, where people are going to be standing, they're going to be still standing up. So they're going to be coming in from this direction, and they still have to break out that, and they still have to break out this. They can probably break this down pretty quick with the 7, but you can quickly move that guy over if there's someone there. But you also have other stations where people are standing. And let's just say, since we have that, we break down this other one. they still have this is stand point. And then when they finally break this down, they're still standing up top. And then finally, once they break this one down, there you go. Then that's when you actually will be like, okay, fall down, all that fun stuff. However, even with that said, your guys up here are still standing. They're still fighting, meaning they're not falling down. They're actually able to continue on. So let's wipe this off, and I'm going to show you kind of what that actually looks like. So we have the standard section here, and how that's kind of looks like here is you have your 1 block here, you have a 2 block here, and then you have a pillar here. And then you have a doorway that connects, that allows you to spread across. So you have your top 3 layers up here. These are going to be kind of like not necessarily super important because they're going to be, we'll cover that tip and why that is later. But right now it's mainly just your front end. But as you can see, when it comes into connections, we're going to have these little aspects right here, these little wall section right here, which you have a 3 and a 3 and a single one here, and they're all going to connect. And what you have are these aspects right here, which are little bridges. When you actually utilize these bridges, which I failed to do a lot of times throughout my campaign run, these help level off certain platforms for the second deal, so they actually balance a lot easier. So when you actually have a nice stable connection, as you can see, it's the same width here across, you will actually be able to maintain your defenses up top. So just a general rule, when you're actually building up a general wall, you want your bottom ones to be as strong as you possibly can, but you also want to be able to build the walls up that if anything does break off this, your soldiers remain up and they don't fall and they continue fighting. So that is it for tip 1. Hopefully that works. And let's get on to tip number 2. Roof number 2 is tip coverage. So after we got done talking about the walls, this is kind of what I want to stick on here. The tip coverage is very important for multiple different reasons. One is you want protection against anything that shoots projectiles over at you. And 2 is protection against rain. Because if you're playing in the rain sections, you obviously know that it will reduce how fast your guys shoot and everything else. So there's 2 tricks that I have discovered that actually amplify the best way to protect not only from rain, but also from attacks and reinforce the top. Typically, what you have is you have a roof section right here. And the roof section protects you against the elements. It's a very cheap thing because it only uses the wood, but it's not very strong. As you can see, they only have like 1 hit point. So if they get hit with anything, then they'll just crumble down. So your next actually best aspect of what I have found is if you have this right here, just this pillar alone actually helps with, let's just grab one of these little soldiers right here, grab over here, and you're going to stand over there. This one little wall, what it's going to do is provide range boost. However, it will not protect against rain. So how do we do this? So there's 2 ways to actually do this. How the tutorial actually shows you says, oh, you need to build roof coverage. It's like, okay, well, what classifies as roof coverage? Well, on the game, in the playthrough, it says this actually provides you a roof coverage, and it will. This will protect you against the elements, and that way you can shoot. I mean, if you're actually playing when you have a very limited amount of resources, let's say you're doing a tower defense, something like this perfectly works perfectly fine. But if you're up against a onslaught and they're going to be throwing projectiles at you and everything else, you need a lot more stronger roof to protect you. This is one of the best tricks that I have learned, and it actually works very well, is we need to do this. Where is it? You grab this guy. Once you put that on there, that acts as a roof as well. And it's a lot stronger. A lot stronger. And then if you have it set up like this, you can also, you have 2 ways you can do this. You can grab this, point it out that way, and automatically upgrades it to the stronger wall. So now it is sitting at 96 strength. Of course, when it's higher up, it's going to be a lot stronger. And then you can also add in for additional flare, like in another roof or anything of the sort, to provide more rain coverage back in the back if you have additional archers or anybody else that can actually shoot over you, or like if you're going to have, let's say, this guy right behind you. He won't get the range boost, but he will be protected from the rain. So you can have 2 guys in the front. Just like so. Let's just say, just line them up right here. Bring that guy there. And we have full protection, full coverage here. Have that there. And then we have this roof here. So your two front guys will have range boosters. These guys actually shoot pretty far regardless, but these guys are also protected from the rain. So they can actually shoot just as fast and everything else. So it actually works pretty well. So this is one of the best tricks that I found for a very strong roof. Protects you against the elements as well as protects you against anything that's thrown at you or comes screaming down from the sky above. Tip number 3, blueprints and how to save blueprints. Blueprints are these little sections right here. So you can actually utilize preset blueprints that the game actually has some default ones you, just as like a little tower there and other little tower there. They're preset, tells you how many stones or how many wood or what that cost is in order for you to actually build them. And then you can actually build them up and all the other fun stuff. I primarily in the campaign was utilizing this guy and not thinking that I can actually create, because there is a fun little button called Create New. So if you're actually going through the campaign, or before you actually go through the campaign and you want to come in and play around, I suggest going into the sandbox mode. That's where we're in right now, and start building up preset walls. So one of the ones that I've set up, this has actually helped me on some survival games to play around and test these builds out, and they actually work very well. Is you can come in, set up the builds that you want, and then let's just say, let's build up a quick one right over here. We're going to be like, all right, we want a base tower, so we're just going to throw up a quick little base tower. There. So it's nice, little strong. Boom, boom, or boom, boom, and then a 2 for there. And then let's throw up some in the back over here, just like that. And then you can have people up here. So it's like, okay, here's a pretty quick little set wall. If you're like, hey, I want to need a chip. Simple, cheap wall that I need to be able to mass produce very quickly that I found that works out pretty well. And let's say this works. So we're going to go over here. Once you build that out, I'm going to hit Create New. You're going to select. Usually, I think it's all, you don't want to miss anything. You want to make sure you get everything selected inside. Highlight it, and then boom, it is all set to your prefecture. So it only costs 142 pieces of wood versus what I have is 300. Or not wood, stone, versus what I made is 301 plus 18 wood. You can grab this and then you can quickly, you can even rotate it and put it in different sections and be like, there you go. And then it builds on top or combines any way that you have set foot. So like say you want to have it set up like this, and then you can quickly be like, oh wait, I need to fill in this gap because it doesn't fill up everything. Pop that sucker there, grab that. Break that down there, go back over the roof, grab this guy, throw that there, and then there you go. Then you have a nice little alcove here, a nice little wall that surrounds, plenty of up steps. You can even get rid of that if you want. And you can come in and later in be like, okay, now I just need to fill in the rest of these so I can have more platforms. You can throw like wood, or anything else if you don't want to use stone, whatever it is. But that's pretty much how the blueprint works. You can come in and set up what you want to build, even if it's not just a wall. You can even build in like, hey, I need to build a housing or let's say I want to build a housing unit that has amplifiers on it. Let's get down to houses. Let's say we have the upgraded house, which is this one. I want to be able to build a house there. I want it to have this oxygen, upgraded oxygen there, and then I want to add a staircase here. Utilize wood to make it as inexpensive as we possibly can. Pop that sucker there, and pop this sucker there. That's connected, so now you have a single roof there, and that. Let's go down here, but it's like, but I also want it to automatically have an extension on it. So let's go ahead and throw an extension on it. And I wanted to reduce O2 for this location just because I wanted to. So we're going to pop that there. So now we have, okay, here's a single house that has an extension, has an oxygen or an OT gathering, and it automatically reduces it. I just want to be able to drop those down in little pockets all over my base that I want. Let's go ahead, pop this, create new. So I like this entire thing. Nope. Let's try again. Nope. Create new. I want to select here, bring out there. Got that whole thing. Now I'm like, all right, I can build this guy all over the place. and I don't have to worry about it. And it tells me exactly how many things I have: 38 gold, 256 wood, 90 deal, and 2 bodies. And each one of these guys, because it's the upgraded house, that'll produce, it gives me a good chunk of citizens. I can't remember exactly how many they give, but it gives you the upgraded amount of citizens. But you can start throwing that down all over the place, or you can have the upgraded version here, which is you just take the base one and then you start building in and expanding from there. But that's how the blueprint kind of works. So I highly recommend utilizing as best as possible. Coming into the sandbox mode, play around on some builds, see what actually sets up pretty well. And when you do make them, I highly recommend for walls, do them in small chunks, just like this one. You don't want to build an entire giant wall set up like this, and then save the blueprint, because you're going to run into scenarios for certain maps that it's going to be kind of winky wonky. Tip number 4, upgrading walls for max defense. So when you actually get to the point that you need to start amplifying or upgrading your walls, I'm going to actually grab the default wall that I have made here, put that up right here. I'm like, okay, it's a base wall. It has no upgrades. Upgrades is what I mean is, okay, I need to make these guys even stronger. So I want this guy here. I want this guy there. I want this archer, or yeah, this archer here, and then but I want this guy down here, and then I want this guy, I don't know, stick this guy like here. You go there. Let's just pick those guys for there. Like, okay, well, they're covered. They have range boosts, that whole 9 yards. So it's like, all right, well, here we go. They have range boosts. But then you have your upgraded sections in here. So when you build walls, make sure you have room that you can put up your tactical upgrades. Is one of the biggest tips that I can have, is make sure you utilize these as best as possible. There's a couple ways you can do this. One, if you're having just the archers there, you can have a room up here. So now they actually have fire. And then if I throw in the other one, which is just this guy here, boom, because of how these roofs are set up. Now what these guys are getting, they're getting the additional fire, range, and damage boost, where this guy is, because this one's too far away. But it's like, okay, well, if this guy's getting the damage boost, this guy's not, but I want him to. How do I fix that? How do I make sure that this guy gets the damage boost as well? And that's to say that I can't build farther out this way because it's up against the wall. Well, you can do a couple things. One of the other things that you could do is utilize this guy right here. So if I get rid of this guy, put on pause mode, get rid of that, put this guy there, and then let's go ahead and put where's the stone block back there. Now all of a sudden this guy now also has not only range boost, but also has damage boost, and it has fire range. And the other thing down below is this guy only has the range boost because he's actually standing there, because this is in the way. That's only for that section. But let's just say, well, let's do this. Get rid of this. This will be a better example. Tower defense, grab that, put that boost there, boom. There we go. Now we have that section there. We can get rid of this because it's not really needed. So we can show you as an example of what we're looking at. This guy has the damage boost, and the guy below also has the damage boost. So the big thing that I would say, the big tip is, a lot of people will throw it down because you get this right away, is the banner. This only covers like a little block section of that deal. However, if you utilize these within the game, not only does it cover behind you, that's above the banner, but also below the banner, as we've seen with this one. But also, if we had another guy there, we can bring him over here just to show as an example. If you build a certain wall setup that has another layer that sits out front, he also gets the damage boost. So these give her a good straight line. So I would highly recommend utilize these for wall upgrades, especially if you have down and top below, so it gives you free up space. Because one of the other things you can start doing is you can start really relying on additional deals. Other big tip is when you actually have this extra room in the back and you want your bigger guys up top, and you throw down your defenses, you can have things like this that actually provide additional boosts as well. It gives you ability to cool down, reduce because of this. It allows you to shoot faster. And then I can increase this because I have the room for it. Let's see here. There it is. Mountain spikes. Because we can't put the whole one in here. Focus on utilizing one of these guys. You can put it there. I would recommend putting it there. Doesn't matter because these guys are, since they're a 4 block, they can set up anywhere and I can still get another person there. And then I can be like, well, I want this guy to also get the banner increase. So let's get that guy there. There we go. And now this guy is getting not only range boost, he's getting damage boost, he's getting the bombs boost, and he's getting ability cooldowns. So when you build out certain things like that, you can work on having those kind of setups and upgrade. Make sure you can really lay into the upgrades and really utilize them. Upgrading your walls is very key, especially when you get into the harder, medium, and more hard mode type battles and survival battles. Really leaning on just the basics and maxing out your defenses is very key. Your walls are strong, but the more that you can amplify your soldiers, even if you're just using base soldiers, is super important in the game. And a quick other thing is also, this is one thing that I didn't realize a lot or didn't utilize a lot through my campaign, but during survival it helps tremendously, is just these spikes. Even if you just use the basic spikes and put one round right there, not only does that help slow them down, but it also does the extra tick damage. It just gives you that extra layer more. You can always, if you get to the point that you can get the claw traps and everything else, but make sure you definitely use traps. It is a major portion of upgrading your defenses, upgrading your walls as you go through. Try to put down as many as you can, at least 1 or 2 for a wall this size. If you can only put down a couple of traps, let's say there, you can only put down those, then only put down those. Just as long as you have something. If you, wherever your weakest points are. So we have, this is 560, 565, and 60, but that's only 400, 400. You can only put down 2 traps. Well, guess where your traps are going to go. There and there. That's going to give you a lot better defenses because it's going to slow them down. It's going to do more piercing damage in those weaker spots. So it's going to make it a lot harder for them to go through because it's going to help kill those guys a lot faster. And tip number 5, my final tip. I'm doing a quick little low difficulty map just to show what we're talking about, is resource management and making sure you upgrade your resource management as much as possible or when you can. So starting off, you're definitely going to be able to build your sawmills and everything else. You need to make sure there's a couple things to remember. I didn't notice this until later. Make sure that you always have enough citizens when you do this, but each little resource actually breaks down how much resources you're going to get per minute, and you want to be able to max this out as much as possible. The campaign mode kind of briefly covers this a little bit, but it doesn't really show you or tell you the importance of this. Having soldiers is very important in everything else, but you want to make sure that you upgrade as much as you possibly can. So when you have these guys in, it'll start yelling at you, oh, you have too many workers there. That is because they are too close to the actual source, so you don't need a whole lot to go back and forth. The farther you go, the more people you're going to need, unless you're able to build a workstation later on when you get into higher upgrades, and that allows you to be able to plop down closer, so then you can reduce the number of people that you have, and I'll cover that in a second to show what that looks like. But you want to make sure that you maintain the amount of people that you have per once. Right now it's 2, and then we'll go up to 3. Still far enough, 4, and there we go. So this guy goes to 3. So you always want to make sure you have the max amount of workers you can per resource, so you can maintain the amount of income that you can get for wood, for stone, for gold, and you can max out, so you can upgrade faster, you can build your walls faster, and you can keep on track on the actual deals. So make sure that you really lean into it. You can see I have a oxygen guy over here and a building lacks pathway to Citadel. I've kind of messed that one up. Let me fix that real quick. I'm doing all this live just to show y'all some few little tricks. As you can see, we're progressing pretty quickly. We're only on difficulty level 3. It's not even that bad. The walls actually help a lot, but you can see these guys have to travel quite a far. And in order for me to be like, oh, I need to increase these guys, like even that 10, the max I can do, in order to get through. So I'm like, okay, well, we need to speed this up. So this is a thing called warehouse. We're gonna make sure we can be able to unlock this and gather this, because then we can build this bad boy there. So we're gonna build this up, and then I'm just gonna pop in to show you what to do, because we need to start utilizing these as much as possible, as well as upgrades when it comes to harvesting stations, because you don't want to have like a max of 10. You want to have as few people you possibly can in the actual workstations themselves, so you don't have to worry about them traveling all the way back and forth. So you can increase the speed. So these warehouses are the main key. There we go. So now that we actually have the warehouses up, so we have increased storage limit of buildings and everything else, and building warehouses in strategic spots and viral things. So now, as you can see, we have way too many people here. So we can start dwindling these guys down to about there. That means we only have one dude, so he can bounce between the thing pretty quickly, and we're still maxing out deal. So even if I start increasing this guy to there, it doesn't increase anything here. So now that we have this guy here, I'm going to show you another example over here. Quarry, this one right here. We're going to stick you 9, 10, boom, put you there. So you can see that right now we gather about 66 in the stone. We started increasing this bad boy to 10. Yeah, I know what this says. It says 95. So let's bring all those back down. We're going to need a lot more oxygen, so let me get my oxygen levels up. So we got our oxygen up. So as you can see, our stone is only doing 66 if we increase it all to there. So let's go ahead and drop warehouse down right here. We're just going to stick it there. Let that build up. Speed that up a little bit. And there we go. And so now that we built that, now that we can see that, so we have this guy built here, so it's a lot shorter distance to actually get to there to the warehouse. So we increase our ability to go to store up to there. So we can start trying to increase as much as we want here to 7. And so what this is going to do is too many workers are assigned. But what it does, it gives us a shorter distance. So now we can get up to 95. We hit up to 10. That decreases everything down to there. Get all the way back down to there. And then boom. As you can see, now that since our warehouse is all squared away, the one little dude that the reason we're still saying 66 is this one little dude was still walking all the way over there. So it didn't register until this thing picked up. But now we're at 95. We only have one guy delivering, not 10. And we can, that optimizes and speeds up our harvesting deal. So we can start throwing out some more wood over here and start gathering more and more faster and faster. So you got to utilize the upgrades when you start upgrading your quarries. Delete one, upgrade it, make sure you put those things and really utilize warehouses. It's super important to utilize warehouses. I was not very keen at doing that. But anyways, y'all, that is all my 5 tips. I hope you all enjoyed. If you find these helpful, please shoot that like button down below. That lets me know that you actually got a lot out of these 5 tips. For more videos like this and playthroughs, go ahead and subscribe as well so you do not miss out. Also, if there are any other tips and tricks that y'all have found and would like to share, I would love to hear from you. So just leave those down in the comments down below. I'm always eager to find additional things that y'all might have found. Well, y'all, I'll catch you on the next ride. Adios.